Hello everyone. My name is myself Venkatesh Reddy as a assistant professor in Science and Engineering College in Computer Science Department. Coming to my topic DevOps. DevOps different tools working as a Docker and Jenkins. What is a DevOps? DevOps is a collaborator between the development and operation. How it is any operation with continuation integration and continuation deployment. This is the DevOps is two words. One is the development, one is the operation. Again, coming to what then is the DevOps life cycle. DevOps life cycle, different life cycle. You have first in the code. Again, we can deploy. Then again, we can use the testing. First, what is the code? Code is means developer, we can write a code in Git repository and push the Git repository in code. Again, we can access any developer, we have write the code. Again, we can move to push the code, Git repository. Git repository win, then again different tools you are using. First, you can using in the Git and Jira and Confluence. Git is a distributed version control system. You have configure any data will managing and configure and tracking in the Git. Then you can consider the build application. Build application we use the Maven. Maven is a packages. Any application will build the application. We have point of view jar and var files. You can be using in the Java application. Java application using in the creating in jar var files. Then we can the testing. Test deployment. I have two types of testing: manual testing and automation testing. Manual testing using in the JUnit and automation testing using in the Selenium. Selenium is the continuous the automation tool. Then again the releases the application. The releases application using the different tools. First is the Jenkins. Jenkins is a open source. They have continuation integration and continuation deployment and continuation delivery. Then using in the deployment aspect, the deployment aspect, you can creating any application. We have containerization application using in the Docker. You have different cloud sources, AWS, GCP, Azure, different services you have using. Then again, we can the Ansible. Ansible is the configuration management tool. You have using in a different applications. We have creating in a Ansible applications. We have creating different applications. Then we use the Kubernetes. Kubernetes is the open source. We have any application will create and deploy any application using the using in the cloud services. Then we can the Chef also one of the configuration management tool. Then is the monitoring. The monitoring, some application we have developer any on to release the application in production. That time we have different issues getting that using in the tool is the NagOS. Some hardware issues, some application issue, different issues we getting this use of NagOS. We are using that. Then is this is the Docker. Docker is a tool. Docker is an open source. You have is containerization application. Any application we can create a different application using in the one container using in the example for Flipkart. Another application using in the Amazon, and different containerization application we can creating a different application you can storing in the Docker. Docker is a different application who have creating some you can Docker creating images, Docker running the images, Docker push the images, different you can creating a different application will store in the Docker. They have Docker Daemon, Docker host, different application now creating in a Docker. Docker is the most important of using in the tool. How any application will creating and deploy and in different creating scalability and redundancy how using in the Docker. This is the most important tool using in the Docker. So what is a Docker? Docker is to make a easy to create and deploy any application to run the application you have using the creator. You have example that is the Flipkart application. You have creating and deploy an application. We can store in the one particular application will creating in the container. That container you have different let's say you have network volumes different using in the container Docker. That Docker daemon, Docker host, Docker. What is a Docker? Docker is a tool designed to make a easily to create and deploy and run the application by using in the container. Container you have created the difference between the container and virtualization. Virtualization you have creating nowadays are using in the virtual application. First you have creating one server, then we can creating in the virtualization. Using in the tool is the hyperversion. Hyperversion we can create a different VMs. Some example if we create that like we can different host machines who have creating This is the VM we have creating in the hyperversion, different you have using in the applications. You have different VMware applications. One is the Bigfort, one is the Amazon. We can creating in the hypervision. Then we use the containerization. The containerization we have creating any application using in the containerization. You have creating and deploy the application using in the container. Then moving into the, this is the architecture for the Docker architecture. Docker architecture, this is the Docker component, client and host. This is the, what is a Docker client? Docker client is a any executing the commands in the Docker host. Docker host, any commands, example Docker PS, that command we are executing in the Docker client. They can we can the Docker host. Docker host we can creating in the any images, like some example Docker images, Docker run the application. We have some example Ubuntu images. That Ubuntu images we can creating in the Docker daemon. Then we can the Docker host. Docker host we can creating different applications, different images. How can creating in the applications? Example we can Docker register, Docker host, Docker host. They can register any applications using in the, that is one. This is the Docker commands. First, we can full the images from Docker register to local. You can full the images using in the command Docker full image and tag name. Then coming to next, we have view the images. We can view the images. We can, the command is Docker image or Docker image ls. Ls means list of items will show the ls command. We can then you can remove the images. That command using in the Docker RMI. And you have tag name. Then you can delete the images. How completely you can delete the images. You can use the Docker RMI command $Docker images -q. That is the delete the images. Again we can start the container. The start the container using in the Docker run image name. Example creating an image, you can run the Docker run image name. Again we can stop the container. Some examples, unfortunately, application is issue. That time you have stopped the container. That command using in the Docker stop container -name /id or Docker ID. Means you have container ID. That is called Docker stop container name /container ID. So all the running container using in the command is the Docker container ls or Docker ps -a. You have list of running container, show the Docker ps -a. Entire in the application will show the Docker ps -a. Unfortunately, the application will restart. That command is Docker restart container name. Next, we can unfortunately 20 minutes after will restart the application. Docker restart -t 20 container name. That I have command that automatically 20 minutes we can Docker is stopped. Then again delete the container. That time you have using in the command Docker rm container name and container ID. This is the delete the container. Entire container will deleted automatically. Then you can the multiple container at a time deleted. Some example 10 to 15 containers you showing. The at a time you want delete using command is Docker rm /Docker ps -aq. That is using in the Docker command. Then we can show the list of already deleted than the remaining images using in the Docker ex -t container name /bin/. We can enter the we can entering the Docker container that show the you have list of item. Example Linux is the one is the container. Some etc files, library files and source files. You have different using in the Linux. Linux is the operating system. You can then enter in the /id/bin, that enter in the container. Then in the port numbers, unfortunately you have in the Docker port. You can some example on application will access the in the browser. That you have that time you can use the allow the port. Some example HTTPS port number is 80. Some example localhost :80. That you can access in the browser. That time you have allow the port number in the container. Again we can Docker inspector container ID. Then we can any application will inspect that we can using the Docker inspect command. This is the Jenkins. Jenkins is a most useful, and this is the open source. This is a Jenkins is a open source continuation integration and continuation deployment or delivery. You can the Java application will you have continuation integration and continuation deployment using in the Jenkins. First, this is the Jenkins diagram. First, developer we can write a code and push the code in Git repository. Then you can build the application. The build the application will you can creating in the Maven packages. Then creating in the jar and var files. In Java application we have jar and var file will created. Then we begin the testing department using in the manual testing or automated testing. The testing is completed in test cases, different test cases, login is test cases, verify test cases, different test cases verify after releases the application. That releases the application using in the Kubernetes aspects and Docker aspects. That is different the tool you have releases the application. Then you can the operation team, you have completely application will send the operation team. That operation team will application is working or not. Some unfortunately some issues in application find to in login issues. Then again we can turn the code into push to developer. Again we can check developer will check that automatically we push the code in Git repository. Then automatically Jenkins will picture that. Then with the code is entered, will job is running automatically. The application will creating a jar and var files using in the Java application. Java application using in jar and var files. Then again moving to operation team. This is the CI flow. CI means continuation integration flow. First developer will create a code. Again we can push the source code. Source code means Git. Git is a distributed version control system. Then we can trigger that. Some developer will push the code in Git repository. Automatically the code is push. Then automatically push the command will. Then can use feature that continuation integration. You have entire process in running in continuation integration. That continuation integration releases when the application will releases the infrastructure will created. Some example, one server is created, Windows server. That we getting infrastructure will creating in the testing. Different QA testing and production testing. Different stages will creating in the stages. Then we can the production. After a complete application will reject, that production will set. Again continuation integration. This is the continuation with the software development to practice the automatically merge the code in the changes into the central repository. Some example you have some exit the code in the continuation that we can using in the CI flow. Then we give this is the CI architecture model for CI. This same developer will create a code. Again we can check in code. After we'll store the in repository, Git repository. Then Jenkins, you can using in the repositories and you can server, CI server. CI server means Jenkins build server. That is a build means how entire will check that one by one cases which job is created. Then where is creating? What is the pipeline program here create or not? Then we can creating in the test cases after releases the test. Unfortunately any job is some issue. Then we can automatically developer will send the code. The developer will correct the code, then you should push the Git repository. That again Git repository check that, but automatically job is run. Unfortunately job is any issue, any messages and mail is getting. The developer and operation team and you can DevOps team also we can message the alerts. Then we can enter is the CI process. This is continuation integration process. Then move to this is the features of Jenkins. They have different features. First is the open source. You have nowadays using in the open source that also easy installation from Windows and Mac and Linux, different type of using the installation and easy configuration also. You have example any application we can creating in the job. It's an easy way. And again the plugins also. Different two types of plugins, custom plugins and available plugins. Again how installing the custom plugins in Jenkins server. Again extensibility and distributed builds. Again cross platform, different plugins. Example, you have entire Jenkins, you can store and backup you can the Jenkins home directory. Some example, your Jenkins server is crashed. Unfortunately, some virus is getting, unfortunately, Jenkins server is crashed. That time you have automatically the Jenkins backup is stored in the Jenkins home directory. The home directory, again, we can copy that, automatically the Jenkins server is running. This is the completely also using in the market, 70% using in the market in Jenkins server only. Remaining 9% using in the Bamboo tool. This is the most important of tool in the market, in 70% using in the Jenkins and only 9% using in the Bamboo. Remaining tools not using. For this is the, you have any integration, deployment and aspects you have using in the Jenkins. Again, within the Jenkins technical features, I have first Jenkins build server and master slave server, and example master server we can creating in the Jenkins. Again, we can build the application in slave missions. The application will slave the only, the application will store only slave missions. Then again in the, they have the build server. They again distributed build support. Some different example, the application will creating in a different application. Some example, I have created one Ansible application. We have 100 servers at a time installed in the that time using in the build server, you can configure automatically the 100 servers how install the applications at a time. That time we have creating in the CI/CD part, that is a continuation integration and continuation deployment. That the triggering builds manual and periodically. Some example, periodically. Periodical means you have some scheduling, contab scheduling. First, today is running in the job, tomorrow is running the job. So 1 month using the job. The automate we can using in the periodically and automatically the job, the schedule is time is getting automatically the job is running. That using in the Jenkins. The automated builds, example, we can etc. Then again we using the open source CI tool. Then Java and Java application using in the Jenkins, and also .NET application using in the MS build. That using in the some different Java application, .NET, Ruby, PHP, the application using in the Jenkins. Jenkins is the how is all application will configure that. They can be using the Jenkins recommended softwares. We need first Jenkins, you have installed and recommended software in Java. Then we can the app server. First we can Java is installed in any Tomcat application. Like I use the Tomcat, then the WebLogical and Grassfish. You have completely first you have installed it in Jenkins. Must and should be is the Tomcat application. Tomcat we install it after we can installation in the official website. Go to Jenkins website. We have download the WAR files, we can extract the application, Windows or Linux and Mac. We have installation, Windows and Linux, or Linux is the three-way we have installation in Jenkins, standalone and different we have installed. For Jenkins website, standalone and deploy and as a services. But is a deploy is the WAR files. First we can go to Jenkins website, we can download the WAR files. After we can install in the Jenkins. First we need to Java or OpenJDK or in Java application. In Java application, latest application will download. After we can install in the Jenkins. Then Jenkins installation. Then again we can start the Jenkins server. Jenkins start and some application we can automatically start the Jenkins. Again we can access the in browser. Localhost :8080/Jenkins. The Jenkins server is started. The Jenkins server is started. Then again we can creating in the job. First go to new tab. Again we can you can click in the freestyle jobs. For example, basic program will run hello world. First creating in the new tab, then we can create application name and we can creating in the job. Then again we can creating in the application job is running. Hello world is printed. The application will where it is printed. We can in the Java application will creating in the application. Then we can creating in the pipeline program. Pipeline means continuation integration and continuation deployment. The application will creating in the pipeline. We have installed some example. The new employee is joining the, you can access the Jenkins server. That time you can go to manage Jenkins. We can creating in the username and password. Then automatically we can create, you can access the Jenkins server. Then you have access in Jenkins server, different application will run you can using in the Jenkins server. This is this is the configuration system you have creating in the different configuration system, reload configuration desk, managing plugins, system information, system log, load statistic, Jenkins CLI, scripting console, and management nodes. You have management nodes, different nodes. First one node is the Jenkins master. Again we can in the another node in the another application. We can creating in the some example we can CLI method, command line method also we can executing the Jenkins server. Then we can creating in the ID tools, some ID tools, different Visual Studio, you have Node++ for different applications, Node tools also using. The configuration system means the any configuration, some example you have Jenkins server, different configuration, we can port number changes, and we can back up the Jenkins server, and any changes we can go to configuration setting, and you can installing the plugins. First go to managing plugin, you have installing custom plugins or inbuilt plugins. Inbuilt plugin means you have install any implemented, you have first you download the plugins, upload the in managing server, in using Jenkins you can download it automatically, the plugin is installed, the application will run that. Again, this is the Jenkins master and slave architecture. This is the most important. First use the Jenkins master. This is the Jenkins master. Again is the slave missions. You have one slave mission, one is the application will run, another slave mission is another application is run. We have some example is the Flipkart application, another one is the Amazon application. We can run the entire, you can using in the load balancing, auto scaling, and VMware virtual missions. The application Flipkart, the example big deals. A big deal time we have the application is loaded. That time we can using in the auto scaling and load balance will configure the Jenkins server. That time your application resources will created automatically. Then using in the master and slave will configure that some application is very access use the customer. That time application will any product will purchase that we can using in that server. Again masters scheduling the build jobs, different equal jobs will store in the Jenkins server. Any example one job is crashed, the automatically you can retrieve the jobs also. We can distribute the build applications. We can actually the job is execution. That time we can creating any job, you can run the job in a application point of view that is using in the Jenkins. This is Docker. First creating a Docker ps-a, entire Docker running files showing. Then we using again Docker exe-it container name from id. Then we can creating in the Docker files. Then moving to list of Docker files, we showing the command Docker ps. Again we can creating images. Docker images. Show the images command is Docker image ls. The entire images will show that.
Sir, detail.
This is the Jenkins. First new job, then create some hello world. The application will creating a CI and CD. The entire application will creating a jar files. using in the Java application. This is the how creating in the Java application. We can example, we can slave, master, slave and Jenkins. This is the Jenkins server. This is slave. First we can configure the Jenkins server. In we have application, we can store the in the slave machine. We can run the slave machine in any application. Same example is a Flipkart application. The Flipkart application we store the in the slave machine. That time you have using in the Jenkins. First we can enter applications, plugins, how install in the Jenkins. Then with application will run the slave machine. That time we are using in the slave machine. How some application will damaging in the slave machine. Then retrieve in the Jenkins server. Jenkins server where it is to retrieve the Jenkins home directory. That diet we can the backup is the Jenkins home directory. The entire will store the home directory. That automatically we can retrieve the Jenkins home directory. This is the entire the Jenkins master slave architecture. First we can creating in the master slave missions. Automatically we can creating in the slave mission. Different slave. At a time 100 missions we can creating in the slave missions. That time we using in the master slave concept. This is the important of master slave queues. Sometimes you have one application we store in the slave mission. Unfortunately internet is not working. That we can configure the same Jenkins master. We can configure the internet. Then automatically we will slave mission getting in the internet. That time application will run or not. Check the in a container application, will open that. We can change the container port number, will allow that, then access in the application. That we can the scheduling the jobs. Unfortunately, the application is how night time scheduling some restart the application. That time we have configured the scheduling. Some midnight 12 will automatically server will restarted. The application will that time 12 o'clock will restart the application. This is the first we can system configuration. First we can configure the system IDs. This is Jenkins server. First, you have creating in Jenkins server. Automatically, developer will push the code in Jenkins server. Again, we can using in the entire code. We will process that. CI/CD process will running that. The code is some example CSS, HTML, different using in the entire code will process that in the Jenkins server. In the CI/CD process, continuation integration and continuation delivery will process that application. This is the entire process, CI/CD process. Entire run the application, any CI/CD, continuation integration and continuation deployment or delivery. We are using in the Jenkins, some application, Java application, C, the .NET application, different application will run the Java server only. Then we can in the master slave application will run creating in the JavaScripts. Then we can creating in the developer GitHub and build in the Maven packages. The Maven packages automatically run the Maven package. We can creating in the Jenkins server. That time Jenkins server will creating in the Java application using in the jar files. First, this is the Jenkins master. We can process the application, will process the application, we can check the code one by line by line, the code will check any issues getting after the alert will getting in the developer team and operation team. The DevOps will picture that. First we can communicating in the developer and operation team, collaborating in the developer and operation team. Then any errors, getting an error, automatically alert will getting developer and operation. Then we can creating in the Jenkins pipeline. There are three pipelines in the declarative pipeline and scripting pipeline. First we can creating in the scripting pipeline, we can process the different first production point of view and QA point of view at different stages we can using in the Jenkins. First production point of view, some application issue, then automatically when the developer will check the code. First declarative pipeline, first we can the agency will creating in the declarative pipelines, we can creating first build stage, after checking the code again the post production stage, then we'll checking the completely this is the master, Jenkins master will handle that. Then we can entire process will running in the CI/CD process only. This process will running in the CI/CD only. CI/CD means continuation integration and continuation deployment or delivery the application. The application will delivering the production point of view. Production will in the application will access any in the browser. Some example production in Flipkart application. How entire application will store the Jenkins server only. We can configure so we can using in the Jenkins server only. That time we have Jenkins, we can the main important of the Jenkins will process that. You have any process first the master slave mission and production point of view, you can creating in application using in the Jenkins server only.